Good morning, everybody. It is Thursday morning, August 29th. I have a lot of things I'm going to talk about, so the title of this video may not match because I don't think everything will fit in. So let's just get started. So first thing I want to talk about is, we'll just talk about the IRS bullies real quick. And something that's happened in my office. The actual guy came into my office yesterday. He's an Asian guy who I believe has citizenship in Canada, but he apparently bought a house and did some work on one in the USA. And when he sold that house, he had to pay like $43,000 to the IRS. So somehow that it's FERPTA. Foreign something or other, foreign investments, I don't know. It's something about that. I don't know all the details. But we had taken money out of his proceeds and sent to the IRS. And so we did what we were supposed to do. And for some reason, this guy keeps getting notices from the IRS that the money has not been paid. And we have a canceled check. So he was in the office yesterday. His agent had come in a couple of weeks ago and gave us a bunch of stuff, and we provided the canceled check showing where we sent it, but it still didn't seem to solve any problems for this poor guy. So he was in yesterday. He's like, I'm still getting harassed by the IRS saying that they can't find where they applied the check to my account or whatever. And so the long story short is the IRS is still bullying him. Of course, he's getting notifications in the mail that they're going to put a lien against his property and do the garnishment of the wages and everything. And so he was in my office for 20 minutes while we were waiting on one of the managers to get back and look at it and see if we could find out something, because apparently he has a TIN and I don't know, he has a number that applies to Canada. He has a social security number or TIN that applies here in the States. And he was like, who provided, because I'm thinking maybe it got applied to the wrong number. I'm like, well, you would have been the one that provided the whatever number it was supposed to be applied to. So he's like trying to point the finger to us that like we did something wrong. So anyway, big mess on that guy's hands. I don't know if there's any culpability on our end, because we got information, he provided it, somebody provided information. If he provided the wrong information and the IRS put it in the wrong account, is that our fault? I don't think so. Anyway, so that's one thing. We just had a big, long conversation about Canada and the cost of daycare in Canada being like $500 and it being like $2,500 in the States. And I was like, well, does the government help provide money for daycare in Canada? And he said, yes. So that's when I was like, well, when the government supplies a lot of stuff and provides stuff, that just makes you chained to them more. That's what they want. It's like a control factor. So he got unloaded on with a lot of truth yesterday that he probably did not want to hear because he was standing at my desk. We talked about the vaccines. We talked about Trudeau. We talked about all kinds of stuff that because by the time he left, I think he finally had enough of me dropping truth bombs on him, because he's pretty much done everything wrong from the sounds of it. He still believes the government, except for Trudeau, he still thinks the United States is better than Canada. Whatever, I don't know. But long story short is the IRS is a bunch of dumbasses from the sounds of it. Like I said, my friend has been dealing with the IRS because they're saying she paid too much money when COVID happened and she got unemployment or something, and now they're trying to get her to pay like, I don't know, $12,000 back, and they want to garnish $600 out of her check. I don't know. Whatever the case is, talking to them has been like pointless. So when you try to play by the rules these days, it almost gets you in more trouble. So for the rule followers, quit being a dumbass and quit following the fucking rules, because it's not going to get you anywhere. It just gets you deeper in with them, because you keep trying to make the rule makers happy and they keep fucking you. So the next point, this is kind of funny, I think. I didn't get a call. I got a message a couple of days from, I'm going to call her an acquaintance. I've talked to her on the phone. I've never met her in person. It was somebody that I talked to, like friend of a friend, last year about a business I was trying to do. And she sent me a message a couple of days ago, and she's like, you've been on my mind. And she's like, I think I could use your help, or I think you might be able to help me or something. And the first thing I thought was like, oh God, what's she selling now? And so I was like, well, I'm at work, what's going on? Give me the details so I know, do we have another conversation to have, or do I just say, leave me out of this, whatever. So she proceeds to tell me, and this is what I think is funny, just call me Cleo. She goes, we had $55,000 in a bank deposit box, and it's gone, and my husband has some memory loss. She's like, I remember him bringing home some savings bonds, and I think she was coming to me to see if I could help her figure out, because of my Miss Cleo abilities, which I'm not sure how she knew about that. Maybe we talked about that on a conversation. I mean, sometimes I talk about some of my abilities in the past life readings and stuff that I do, and sometimes I don't. It just depends on who I'm speaking with. Is it someone who's open or not? And then my nose itches really bad. Here we go again. Okay. So anyway, she gives me that information, and I was like going, okay, well, how can I help? And let me ask you a few questions. Do you have a son? Do you have this? Blah, 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 blah. And so as I'm like sitting at my desk, and I'm kind of starting to get a download of like some puzzle pieces putting together. And this is what I came up with. Now, let me be fair. I do not know if anything that I've told her has helped her at this point, because I haven't asked her. She hasn't told me anything. I gave her the information that came to me, so if it helps, then great, and whatever. It's a little bit like a past life reading when I do that. It's like I get information, what you do with it and how it puts pieces together for you is kind of your business. So I said, what I feel is a couple of years ago, because I asked her, I was like, when did you notice the memory loss coming in? And she goes, last year sometime. And I said, what I feel is in the beginning, when he started realizing he knew something was wrong, but he was afraid to tell anybody. He didn't want to tell her. He didn't want to tell anybody and share, I'm starting to lose my memory. I know something is wrong, because he didn't want to freak anybody out and worry anybody. And then, older people are very independent, so they don't want people hovering. And I imagine there's a lot of people out there with memory loss right now that are faking it and pretending like everything's okay and maneuvering through things. But whatever the case is, I was like, I feel like what I see is like he knew something was wrong. He gave this money to a man and said, I need you to hang on to this because I'm afraid I'm going to lose it or something, and don't tell a soul about it. So he was kind of trying to protect that money from himself. She said he brought home some savings bonds. So I don't know, maybe it was like he gave the money to a guy and the guy gave saving bonds in return. Nobody can remember. Nobody knows the details. And so I gave her the information that I had, and then I kept hearing the word like sandalwood, and I was like, okay, what's sandalwood good for? So I look it up, and it's good for memory loss and Alzheimer's. And I was like, interesting. So I told her to get a diffuser out and start doing some sandalwood around him to see if that helped. But that made me laugh, because I'm like, really? I'm like, I have some sort of a reputation that I have information that can help. I mean, I don't know if this happened a couple of years ago, because like it was 2 years ago, maybe 3. I don't even remember when exactly. I was doing a lot of past life readings. And I had a lady that had, and she told me I could share this. She had a love of her life that had passed away, and she still had a lot of pain from it. So we were trying to help her through that and help her unblock and get peace. And why was this man so important to me? And we went through several lives of how they were together or belonged to each other or related to each other, or mother and son and this and that, and all the different ways that you can have a relationship with somebody in previous lives that makes that soul bond so tight. And in one of the readings, I was like, I feel like I'm seeing like a box of ashes. And so we got done. I was like, do you know anything about the box of ashes? And she's like, well, I have him in the closet. So he had been cremated. She had had him cremated, and she had his ashes in the closet. And I was like, well, I think he wants out. So maybe you need to go spread his ashes in a park or by a river or something, someplace that he would be happy instead of hanging on to them. I think that'll do you good, and that will do him good. So that's the kind of information that comes through in some of the readings that I have done. So it just was like funny that this woman called me and said, I think you can help. I again, don't know if I did or not, but that's the information that got provided to me. And then I got interrupted in the middle of the download. Okay, so what else? So one of the things that happened a couple of days ago, and I wanted to do this yesterday, but I was just tired yesterday. I had a guy that came into the office that his wife buys and sells properties. He actually has a business. I think he used to sell medical devices, and then he invented one. He has invented one for diabetic nerve pain. And it's going through all the paces and going through like the testing and everything, but they're also finding that this little unit, and I'm just now thinking TENS unit. It's not a TENS unit because that's already on the market, but I think it might be something similar to a TENS unit, because he was talking about you could use it for back pain. You could put it like right below your knee for the neuropathy. And he was talking about it's like maybe going to be passed by like the government agencies and for VA and Medicaid's like working on it, because Medicaid has the highest jumping through hoops. And if you pass it through Medicaid, then anybody else underneath of it's going to say fine. If Medicaid okayed it, then everybody else does. So he's in the process of getting all the okays. And so we got on the subject of that, and he said something about, he goes, the one thing that's a little baffling is how someone, like 2 different people can have an L3 disc that is, whatever. And this person over here has extreme pain, and this one can get over it relatively quick. And there were, and we were kind of talking about how the same injury can affect 2 people different ways, and how the mental part of it has so much to do with it. And I said, well, I can tell you one thing that might be part of it is I am a believer that trauma from previous lives, trauma from this current life, can attach itself in the body and cause disease and cause pain and cause different stuff. So you might have this guy over here that had a trauma from childhood that like landed in his back, and this guy never had that. It was just a physical injury. And so that's why one person has more pain, can't get rid of it, and while the other one, it goes faster. And so we got on like a really cool, deep conversation. He said that they were testing in Boston this little medical device with like heroin addiction and the methadone. He goes, right now, methadone seems to be the only thing that can get people off of meth. And and if I'm using the wrong words, I'm sorry. I don't know a lot about that. I've never been on that kind of drugs, and so I don't even really know anybody that's been on it. So it's not something that's like in my brain too much. But so if I say something wrong, don't jump my ass, okay? But what he said was they were using it on meth addicts and trying to see if, because that was one of the things that the meth addicts complained a lot about, is when they're trying to get off of it, they have a lot of pain. And they get overwhelmed with the pain and they can't, it's like they stop or something because the pain is too bad. And so they are using this little medical device and doing some testing in Boston right now to see if they can use this little device and I don't remember the name of it, if they can use that device to help with the pain, to help get through the withdrawal symptoms, I think, if I have my story right. This happened, like I said, this happened 2 days ago. If I'd have been smart, I would have done it when I came home from work. But this has been a long freaking week and a lot of stuff has happened. I signed paperwork for the house yesterday and I was so nervous. Now, all I did was sign my stuff. The buyer hasn't signed his stuff yet, but I'm not going to closing, and I have a notary in my office. So they sent it over to me by email. I had one of my closers notarize everything, and I checked that stuff 10 times before I put it in my UPS package and sent it back, because I'm on the other end. I sold real estate for 20 years. I was the one given the orders, and this time I was the one that was doing it, and I have a whole, it was like the tables were turned, and I'm like, and I'm not saying I didn't have an appreciation, but I maybe have a little bit more appreciation for the nervousness that people feel when they're going through the buy and sell of a property and all of that stuff. So when the UPS, Jake, we still working with Jake, and I like him. He's cute. And he's nice, and he talks to me. So I took him the UPS package, and I'm like, be extra kind to this, give it some extra love. I need to make sure this gets to Illinois tomorrow. And so he scanned it in right there in front of me. And so if it doesn't, the universe, for whatever reason, they've got me waiting a little bit longer. But if it ends up there today, maybe the buyer's closing tomorrow. I'm not sure when all of it's final, because it's a different state than me. But I did as much as I could do yesterday. So that is done. It's kind of done. It's almost done. Is there anything else I can think of? Probably lots of stuff. For now, I think I will stop. Like I said, this had a lot of stuff in the video, and I'm not sure what I'm going to name it at this point, but don't follow the rules. And I know you guys are mostly rule breakers. If you're listening to my channel, a lot of you are rule breakers, but the people that are trying to follow the rules seem to be the ones that are getting the most screwed. I mean, am I wrong about that? So anyway, I don't know that I'll do a video in the morning because I'm probably going to go walk, and then it's Labor Day weekend. I might talk to you over the weekend. I don't know. We'll see. So anyway, have a good Thursday and a good Friday, and I'll chat at you next time I see you. Bye.